I'm a little annoyed with Bruce Springsteen. Got on stage and started talking about how scary it is to live in America over in Europe. And then you have Robert De Niro and the rest of the liberals talking about how it's tyranny over here, it's communism, while sitting in public on the TV or on the TV in front of cameras, showing everybody what they believe. Isn't that not supposed to happen if you live in a country like that? Kind of like China. You know what? I'll show you some examples, unedited. You're going to see what it's actually like to live somewhere like that. For example, when China was having some record floods, bridges were collapsing, there was water just flooded the streets. And people barely heard about this, by the way, let alone in China. Just
80
watch
billion yuan.
Yeah,
examples.
So it ended up
Insane.
This is
All right, and there's
was
something
insane.
that we wanted
Yeah.
to focus on here is
It was
not so
bad.
much the
and people
ecological
barely heard about this.
devastation,
and collapse.
yeah, that one might say, but the Chinese government's response. And
Yeah.
this is super important here because,
not gonna
okay,
believe
before
this.
we even get into this, I've been speaking to friends in China,
Yep, same.
and they don't even know this is
Not
going on.
a clue. I had to talk to people in Beijing. Outside
This
of Beijing,
was
people didn't even know. And actually,
year
I lied.
ago.
One person
Didn't
knew
even hear
about
about
it,
it,
and
did
it was
you?
like, oh, I saw that on the news. But
Yeah,
it was like
it's
a
like-
quick little.
It's this.
know.
This is the kind of thing that you would expect to be front page news
Yes.
everywhere. Everyone should know about it. but
Worst
it's-
disaster in 140 years. Worst disaster in the documented history of China.
Yeah, but it's kind of back page news.
Flood.
And
And they say their bridges last forever. So, and they don't, because if I'm going to show you too, all the corruption that happens, stuff gets built really poorly, and then it just ends up collapsing because of all the corruption and people taking money and kickbacks. And yeah,
The location was getting wiped and censored.
Yes.
Not just the location, the name of the bridges, because they don't want people to know that
Yeah.
there were bridges collapsing. Do you know why? And I think I haven't seen any mainstream media talk about this.
Yeah.
There's a huge multi-billion-dollar effort for Chinese propaganda abroad right now.
Yeah.
And one of their tenets recently has been how many bridges China has built in such a little time, whereas
Yes.
other countries like America doesn't build bridges like
Sure.
China does. So you can't have new bridges,
ours last.
especially collapsing, but they're collapsing all over the country.
Yeah.
So anyway, we thought this was really interesting, and it took us ages, but we finally figured out where it is.
yeah, now
buildings
this is on the
at
fifth,
least once a week.
ring road. Now, if you don't, okay, so sorry.
yeah. So this is the part. Okay, so you would think once the Chinese government comes, they come and try and help people that are floating away, literally. That's their number one. That's what it would be here, So
The reason I'm putting this in is we got to put a little bit of humor into this. So no, we're not making fun of any
Hint.
kind of tragedy here.
It's
but
not.
This is what the Chinese government's response was.
Yeah, I mean, this is insane.
So let's see what they
Yeah.
did.
couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this.
我现在在的位置叫新
I
卢
went
桥
out
上，
for
现在
a
咱
little
们看
too
到的
long.
位置就是小清河桥。
See that? See the bridge? That's brand new. That's the one that we just saw.
Hold on. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
point this out. I was translating this, right? I was like, wait a minute. See the XXX on the screen?
Yes.
They're
if you look-
blocking out. And by the way, a lot of these clips were removed, period.
Yes.
But they were blocking out the name of the bridge
Yeah.
in the subtitles.
Yeah, he cannot say the name in his subtitles because
Yeah.
it's being completely censored.
Yes.
Now, that is the same bridge that you saw earlier,
Yeah.
that
where the
wouldn't
6
happen
or
here.
7 cars, the one guy witnessed getting...
Just in that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're saying,
And
okay,
you can
that
see that...
so they're just censoring the subtitles, the name of the bridge, right? No.
There's a car
You
still,
already
there's
saw
cars
it.
still on there.
You just
You
didn't.
cannot believe it.
It's just so absurd that you didn't catch it. That's why you didn't see it. We've already seen it.
Okay,
just
sorry. You
wait.
So-
cannot believe what happened here.
Imagine you're the Chinese
This
government.
is
okay?
what it.
Now you got to...
This is what it looks like to live under communism.
send out your rescue workers because
Right.
this bridge has collapsed.
Yes.
What would you do? Let me ask you, what would you do if this is what you were faced with? Here's a half-collapsed bridge. Okay, it started to subside now. Now you can send in the rescue workers. What's the first thing you do?
You absolutely send in rescue workers from the air to get an aerial view to see if there's any stragglers or people floating around. You send in boats from the side, rescue rafts. You get a whole team. You get firefighters. You get ropes. You get everything you can. Right? Because you're in the capital. This is where all the stuff is. All the rescue workers and the best equipment is in Beijing.
Yeah.
You know, within minutes.
I mean, I would also be like, let's go remove the cars off of the bridge. Let's
make sure there's no one in there.
Yeah, let's make sure that the bridge is properly sealed off. Make sure it's all safe. Make sure that, let's start clearing the debris. Let's go and search over there. But what does the Chinese government do?
What do you guys think? This is a live show, right, guys? Yeah. What do you think was their priority? And you can get a hint from the fact that the bridge name was...
What do you think that noise is? They're censoring people from taking pictures and video instead of helping people. That's their number one priority. Is to shield people from seeing what happened.
Yeah, I hope everybody saw that.
That is communism. That is tyranny, people.
Rather than go and actually address the problem, they send the people out to put up these barriers on the side so nobody can see it.
They
you ever seen someone
censored the bridge collapse so people
the
don't
name of
think
something so one can get out?
So you can't see the collapsed bridge from the road.
Yes. Instead of rescuing.
Yeah, instead of sending people out to actually address the problem, the priority of the Chinese government is to censor that there is a problem. That's how they fix their problems, is hide the problems. They don't address them.
I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah. And this is something you see with every...
There's a video of a woman trying to reach out to grab someone. And they don't do anything. Nothing. They're more focused on shielding people from seeing it.
Remember Chain Woman? Rather than address the problem, they just stop anyone from going to that village and not allowing
that's what
reporters
it's like.
to go.
It's how they do everything. The shroud, they were bragging about this. We should have included this.
The shroud where they block.
There's a white paper protest in Shanghai. All the people were asking Xi Jinping to step down, right? And it was crazy.
Oh my God. I got to show you this.
So they invented this shroud method where police put up this giant shroud and cover up protesters.
And they'll do this in the streets. Like if there's a, let's say a car that explodes, there's a car accident, there's a protest, one person is screaming at someone about something, they will hold up these big black things just like that, but handheld, black, and they'll cover the person so you can't take pictures and video of them. Dead serious. I mean, you're seeing it right here,
So people can't see them, so they can whisk them away and disappear them.
Just block,
insane.
Physically censor the problem.
Some of those Chinese people will disappear for sending a video out showing that.
Show the exact feeling of how Chinese people are always aware of their situation, but can't say anything about it. So he says,
Marines being washed up on the shore. You know what I mean?
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's not on the front page.
No. Where's that even coming from? Where is this even coming from?
I don't mean to laugh, because hopefully no one got hurt in that incident. But
look at the rescue workers. They all have GoPros on
Oh,
their
here it
helmets and
is.
stuff.
Here it
But
is.
look, netizens pointed out.
Right there. This is their propaganda to show everybody that they're doing something and helping people. Right there. See those people standing in the water? There's a couple videos like this where they act like they're saving people, and this cameraman is standing in a puddle right next to
them. What's going on here?
That's kind of the usual in a place like China, not here in America though.
People standing ankle deep in the waters down there, right?
I translate some of these comments like, why are there 2 people watching?
Yeah.
Like, people aren't stupid, right?
No, of
They
course.
the Chinese government put this out as propaganda about, look at how amazing our rescue efforts are. We're gonna helicopter in with GoPros.
Yes, I mean,
And
you
save
could
people
see
on the roof.
all the rescue workers have their GoPros on. You know, it's obviously a PR stunt. It's what they
Yes.
do.
Yes. It says the water is so clear
He just said that and so nonchalant. That's what they do.
the tires are only half submerged. Because the idea, the Chinese government wanted people to think the water's all the way up the building.
Yes.
So that they have to get these people that are like struggling right at the top, right?
Yeah.
And so they airlift them out. And the
What? The funny part is you can see how far the
this
water
person
goes
said the 2
up.
dudes next to the car are so confused. Lol.
Yep.
I don't know if hopefully you guys.
He's
caught that in the
actually
beginning.
laughing.
Yeah.
That's why he's holding
The
his
guy
head
is
like
just
that.
standing on
If
the
you saw
street.
it,
Yeah.
he was
Like,
laughing.
Obviously a PR.
Watch the kid.
Sorry, we're gonna helicopter in with GoPros.
Yes, I mean,
and
you
save
could
people
see.
on the roof. Yeah, the Chinese government
Right there. See his face? He's laughing. All right. So here's another example of what it would be like to live somewhere under communism, a dictatorship. This is what it would be like. So these people, they came out to ride their bikes. That's it. Riding bikes. No protest, nothing. Riding bikes. That's it. Watch what happens here in China. Not in America, in China.
He says, "This is youth. This is Henan. They're going on the main road, the big road here."
10万铁骑直
So it's like 100,000 cavalrymen,
Yeah,
basically. Iron Knights.
meaning bikes, bicycles.
Yeah, bicycle.
Sounds
people,
cooler to say
but
cavalryman.
I think
I like
that's-
your creative
yeah,
liberty
exactly.
打，开封汴梁，加油加油！
towards Kaifeng. So Kaifeng is a city in Henan province in central China.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, up to 100,000 people ended up getting shared bikes, which are bikes that you use your phone to kind of unlock.
I've done
pay
many
money
videos
for.
about that.
Many
yeah.
videos, yeah. And they took to the streets and they all decided to head towards Kaifeng from
Yeah.
Zhengzhou.
So we're going to tell you why Kaifeng is important in a minute.
Yes.
没想到人会那么多。
Take a look.
It was way more than... It's a little history lesson.
Yeah. We like you to be informed.
Here comes the Chinese government.
Yeah, now they're hurting them. So they're actually preventing and stopping people from riding bikes right now all over China.
Yeah.
Shared bike companies are also, setting their bikes so that they lock if it's
So
in
it
certain
says,
areas.
yeah, the bike companies are now discouraging the rides. Some bike rental companies that operate in Zhengzhou, so we're the epicenter of this, announced that their bikes would lock if residents attempted to take them out of the area.
So even the companies, because of the government, they told them we're terrified of people taking over or some kind of protest, that nobody can ride bikes right now. Nobody.
However,
Yeah, how did this start?
yes, we need to tell you how this started.
A bicycle
well,
ride.
this will play in the footage, so just let it rip. Basically, 4 girls in a university made a trip. They decided that they were going to go to Kaifeng from Zhengzhou. It's about 50 kilometers away, right?
Yeah.
And they were going to get on shared bikes, which are slow and kind of painful to ride.
They're awful.
And they documented their journey, their arduous journey, right? So they did this to go get famous soup dumplings in Kaifeng. Kaifeng is famous for its street food. It's famous for its night markets. It's one of the only areas in China that has night markets that people talk about in the same breath as Taiwan's night markets, right?
Yeah.
It's a big night marketplace.
Yeah.
Therefore, they went at night. They wanted to go to get these dumplings, right? Now, after they documented this, it inspired not just 4 people, but hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, some people say up to 800,000. I mean, take a look at the
That's what it was. Some dumplings. And people thought that was cool. And so they're like, let's get together and go. And China freaked out thinking there was this huge protest, or it was going to turn into a protest, or like telling the people that gathering that easy is not good. Because what if they decide to protest the Chinese government? They can gather that fast, that good. Well, don't show them that. Don't tell them that. God forbid they revolt.
These
Yeah,
clips you're
that's
seeing
why.
here of the roads just completely choked with.
So this is a big one here. These workers were not paid their wages. This is a very common thing in China. And what they're doing is extremely brave, because usually if you gather like this and start talking about how you weren't paid and, well, these people are going to starve and they're going to be homeless if they don't get paid. And we're not talking about a lot of money at all. They started to protest.
So what's happening here, guys, is that the workers who have not been paid their wages for months have blockaded the road and are not allowing traffic through. Now, you know, in China, there's a saying called 吃苦, which means to eat bitter. And it means to put up with a lot of shit, basically.
That's what it means.
Excuse my language.
It's true.
But
You are true.
what'll happen is a boss will demand far more, especially from migrant workers and factory workers, demand far more than they signed up for, right? So you'll end up working overtime without pay.
It's borderline slave labor.
It is, yeah. Work overtime without pay. You'll work on the weekends, 6-day, 7-day weeks often.
You're
not
far
get
from
paid.
home, and you're locked in there
Yeah.
until they decide you can leave.
Yeah, exactly. They will, you know, it works on this kind of internal passport system called the
Gee, that
hukou.
doesn't sound like
So if you're
America.
working in another city, you don't really have any rights in that city. So the migrant workers really get taken advantage of. It's terrible.
Can I throw a quick anecdote?
Sure.
One time, there was a situation where
Gee, that sounds familiar, because that was happening up in Canada. If you don't remember, the sweatshops that China has were doing the same thing.
this local guy went into the police station because of some altercation, and because he had a local hukou, he's from that city, the police helped him. A guy came in to complain about something, because we were in there talking about a stolen motorcycle. A guy came in there, and he didn't have a local hukou. He's a local factory worker in a local factory, but didn't have a local hukou, and the police literally made him leave the police station.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that he's a
Oh,
Chinese
yeah,
citizen.
it's terrible.
wouldn't
Your
happen
kids
in
can't go to
America.
school
Nope.
in that city if you don't have a
No.
local
You have
hukou.
no
You
help.
Can't get a bank loan.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
But
It's terrible.
Victims of crimes are the worst because they don't have
That
no
doesn't happen
recourse.
in
Yeah,
America.
you can't even rent if you don't have a local hukou.
Yeah.
Happens in
so you
China,
have to
though.
stay in a factory dormitory. Anyway,
Sorry.
so this whole idea of eating bitter means that they will suffer a lot of injustices for a very long time. And for Chinese people in general, especially the migrant workers, to actually take a stand means they've been pushed very, very, very
Yes,
far.
yes.
Now, these guys apparently had
Like, as in, they have nothing to lose other than their life. Like, that's how far they've come. Because they might get taken away, disappeared.
received wages for 6 months. That's half a year.
6 months, no
Yeah,
wages.
exactly.
And they're already in slave
They're
condition.
talking about,
you-
like,
you
no
know,
money.
And the factories can get away with this
Cheap.
because they provide housing. You know, they provide like a really crappy housing. You've got tons of people shoved into a tiny room all on bunk beds, and they will provide some kind of food. So, like, they can still live.
Yes.
So it also traps them in that way.
We also specifically know about the factory situation with the shoes in this place because we had a friend from Italy who, I shouldn't say he owned it, he was part of the management there, and he was appalled at the standards that the Chinese bosses were giving the workers.
Dongguan is very famous for shoe factories.
And China makes the most shoes in the world. For
Exactly. Anyway, so that's
Slave labor.
that's what's happening here.
Of course, you don't hear Americans talking about that, though, do you? It's just something that happened 200 years ago, or 100 years ago, whatever it is, here, 150. So, you know, it happened 150 years ago here. So we still keep talking about it, but we don't talk about it going on here. Of course not. No.
Here, they're trying to. Well, they're standing up because. Take the volume down a bit. They're standing up because they weren't paid. By the way, Dongguan is not some middle of the nowhere place.
Oh, it's millions of people.
It is also demanding higher wages or better working
They're
conditions.
not getting paid.
No, they are just there because they haven't been paid their wages that are owed to them for months.
So this is Datra New Energy, but at the same time, in the same city, we've now gotten reports from people that they're not paying the police officers there either. So state wages aren't coming through either.
Yeah.
There's no money. And this again is a very wealthy area.
They're fucking broke. Everybody.
Yeah.
One of the wealthiest because of rare earth.
And of course, I mean,
They've stormed into the party office there.
Yeah.
everyone's
The
broke.
Shanghai,
People
China,
are
this
taking
Jie Auto.
kickbacks.
This is a much bigger story than we're letting
This
on.
is big.
We could have made a whole show about this and get answers. But this, again, is just part of this massive cash grab.
All over the country.
Yeah. This is, again, a completely different situation.
Oh yeah. People they'll buy apartments, and they'll take their life savings to buy that apartment, and nothing gets built. They never see a home. So that's another thing that happens a lot.
Very far away from the other places we've just shown you.
Also, different situation,
Yeah.
but completely tied into the economy is failing in China right now.
Yeah. So, again, China's trying to portray this image that the economy is gangbusters.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
Well, that's what authoritarian dictatorships do, is they have to portray that to the rest of the world because they need the rest
Yeah, they're trying to tell the rest of the world all these people are here for a job.
of the world's money. China doesn't innovate or make anything.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make new stuff.
Yeah, they make things, but it's stuff that exists.
That's what I mean. It's stuff that exists. So if you don't have innovation to steal from other countries, and you don't have foreign investment in those industries, the only China's new trains, shiny new metro stations. You see all these shill videos of these.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of picture of
Metro when there was a flood
Mm-hmm.
because
destruction.
the infrastructure couldn't handle the water. It so perfectly and neatly erases
It
the
does.
booms.
It does.
I mean, you can see over there. You've got
you see
their
buildings
celery in
collapsing,
months
fires.
Chinese run over stories.
It happens
every
so
day
That's what we're
so
trying to say.
often.
Is the fact that this has been happening.
in one city out of thousands of cities.
I mean,
right?
this
Correct.
This is
happens
happening everywhere.
Yeah,
weekly.
It's insane. And it's big destruction.
It was massive explosion.
The Royal
Yeah.
Rumble.
What's this?
Before we do that,
What a wonderful song. How come I've never heard it before?
I really
I
hope
use a show. Let's see if there's anything else from this one. I should have showed you. I wonder. Oh,
Yeah.
Great
exactly.
PR.
Yeah, that's true.
a Chinese zoo has denied that it's a bear. Its bear is a human in disguise. That's how pathetic. Like, that's how broke.
Because China does fake everything.
They do. They do.
So I
That's-
can see why there's skepticism.
Yeah.
But I also
Skepticism. You can see the guy's legs.
Treated as an important person for the first time in their lives. So they absolutely fall in love with that attention and the power. And so what they do is they decide to white knight for China, for lack of a better word. This is a bear, people. Yeah,
it's a bear.
It's a bear.
And we can stop covering it. But this is
Throw it
watch
to
them
the tiger.
eviscerate it. But people are chucking soda bottles.
This is a bear, people. Yeah,
It's a-
this is a bear, people.
Yeah, that's a bear.
Yeah,
It's a bear.
it's a bear.
And we can stop covering it. But this is where people are hurting.
That is not
well,
a bear.
Maybe they just want some positive news.
And that's fine. But
Yeah.
I'm saying
Jesus Christ, you can see his feet. You can see his heels. And here we go again with if China is so great, why are there so many people trying to come to America?
leader prior to the current
Asylum
leader.
seekers.
So
And those
ones
are the
that will never-
buildings that people put their life savings to buy an apartment here, and they didn't even end up moving in there. You know how much money China lost because of this? Because of all the people stealing money and kickbacks, and
Pause it there.
isn't it normal
back,
because the
I'll go
police
back.
He
officers,
freaks out. He's like, there are 27 surveillance
27 cameras.
on one cut. By the way, it's a country road,
Yeah, it's a country road. It's not
Country
even in the
road.
city.
Shut up.
and they're all different. They all have different.
Yeah,
to
They
get
all
some
need
police
to-
officers,
because
need
police
to-
officers-
traffic police, they all need to film this location. This is super normal, no? She actually tried to gaslight him into thinking this
sarcastic.
is normal.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's normal, dude.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
That's
being
freaking
serious?
Insane. You can just play this without audio, but look at that. That's one country road with what? One house next to it?
Yeah, it's a
one.
bit crazy. It really is crazy. Some of those are traffic counters, but the majority of them are cameras.
Yes.
And
she goes, well, all the departments need to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
That one's
Yeah.
So
it's
imagine
normal.
the cities. Imagine how many. What?
So you remember when I was talking about the concrete? Well, this is what happens in China because of all the kickbacks, all the people stealing money, buying the most cheap material.
And add balance to your political landscape by offering.
Chunyi district in Beijing.
Yeah, so this is in Beijing.
So this bridge,
You know, this is the capital.
by the way, this isn't like just one event. This is one of many.
So, I mean, you saw what it looked like. Just a normal bridge. You just every day, you know, driving
Yeah, it's
conditions.
a very busy bridge. Brand new.
He was having a bit of a seizure there. What was that?
Exactly. Yeah, this is the yeah, let's take a look.
You can
Yeah,
even
this
tell
is the
that's
bridge,
brand new.
The same one. Okay, and this week, look what happened to it.
That's insane.
You just wait. Yeah. Is this the one where the...
So, I mean, you saw what it looked like. Just a normal bridge. You're just driving over a normal bridge. Everything seems fine. And then this happens. It's terrifying. This particular bridge, the official report coming out is that cables that were running underneath the bridge caught fire. What kind of a fire causes an entire bridge to collapse, though?
I mean, I think it probably
so
contributed
pathetic.
to it, right? But I like how that's the convenient excuse, right?
Yeah.
Is that, oh, the fire just burned the whole freaking bridge down. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, but for it to fail that easily,
even see-
it's
That's
kind of terrifying.
smoke from the concrete.
You don't want to be
even-
in a position where your whole country is sitting.
There are no casualties, but
Here's
it's
another-
impossible to know with the Chinese government because if you take a look here, okay, I'm going to pause it. You can see
You
in the
see a
distance,
fire?
over there. You can
I
see
don't know.
that there are some trucks and some cars that have.
Here.
This is the official report that came out on the day it happened, and Xinhua news agency Beijing said the reporter learned from the Beijing Municipal Transportation Commission on the 23rd that at 7:07 on the 23rd, a fire broke out on the.
Metal, right? And
Yeah,
the
of
strength
course.
of metal. That makes a lot of sense. But
Built in 1999, renovated in 2007, renovated and updated in 2015. It's already collapsed. Even if a fire was under there, in America, that would have been completely fine. No problem.
All right, I know that's when
Here's
the
another one.
construction started. I
I'm
think it
pulling
was,
up my notes here.
it's
Oh,
completed
in the UK.
1426.
Yeah, this was built
when
in
it was finished.
1818.
I mean, that's a long time ago.
Still standing. Brooklyn Bridge, built in 1869? Really? That was earlier. Okay, well, 1869, still standing. Yep. Full House Bridge? No, you're talking about the Golden Gate Bridge, built in 1933. I walked across that. Takes a long fucking time to walk across it. It took like an hour. Man, I remember seeing that up close, like seeing it in pictures. No comparison. No comparison. When you're on that bridge, it is massive. And you see the guys up there like painting, you're like, you are fucking crazy. So this is the concrete they used to build everything.
April 23rd, right?
Yes,
This
April
footage was
23rd.
taken.
If you can even
In
call
Hebei,
it concrete.
you saw their trucks and stuff going over this bridge. This guy
That's their
is able
pavement.
to chip the concrete off with a,
Oh, no,
with a
no, no.
little
That's the
stone.
concrete.
So
Yeah.
he saw this, right?
The
before A lot
pillars.
of the media was removed of this
Yeah.
bridge collapse. And what I assume happened is that he saw this bridge collapse and said, hey, I'm actually quite close, right? Is
that what?
I mean, that bridge collapse did happen in Hebei, basically.
Yeah, it happened on the 23rd.
On the 23rd.
Same day as this.
So he
particular.
probably rushes out, goes and says, let me go check my local bridge.
Why is the wood
Well, lo
so...
and behold, it turns out it's
Look at the
completely
wood.
disintegrated.
Well, this is what happens. Okay, when rebar starts to corrode, it expands, and then it actually pops off like the
That's what
concrete
made the
that's
wood
surrounding
so
it, and you get
rotted.
to see the exposed rebar like this. That's when you know something's wrong, because the rebar shouldn't be corroding, you know, and splitting and rotting away. And of course, you know, like the concrete's so loose, you can just knock it off.
Yeah.
This is easy to confuse the two. You know, one's
Well,
a
you
river,
gotta-
one's a lake.
you gotta
Discovered that
do-
the steel bars of the load-bearing columns of the bridge section expressway were corroded and exposed, and the cement was granular and would fall off if hit with a stone. And there were vehicles driving on the bridge. That's terrifying.
And you gotta,
Engineering or who work in construction
we
or something.
always get people chiming in that are in that.
And they would
Afraid of heights.
yeah.
You're not gonna like this one.
So what they're doing is they're just testing this little ledge, which the air conditioning enough that there are warning signs everywhere for it.
You know what it usually is? Is they're building cladding.
Just remember, there's people down
Yeah.
Come
there
up and
too.
you say, oh,
Now, if they were in this
Let's play the fucking video.
before however many stories,
literally Jenga.
possibly kill someone.
Is it safe to say the building is made of that material?
Yes, of course, and that's enough that they're here. What we have,
One of these bridge situations,
placing.
literally.
Wish you guys would just play the whole
Place-
fucking video
Cover up.
and not pause
yeah,
it every
Vic,
15
it is
seconds.
placed on just by tapping it with a hammer
There you go.
and look at the edge here.
Oh my god.
This is the building.
Yeah. Now, can you see? You can see all the way down there.
Yeah. I mean, that must be 20
Bel-
stories up.
believe it or not, you get deaths from things falling off.
Fight in some bizarre way. I mean, what do you do? Spray
Yeah,
with glue?
things
Like,
fall.
there's not much you can do.
AC
Yes,
fall
Already won
all the time.
once.
Yeah.
Being built
Very
up
common.
on the ground. Podcast.
Revolution in
Welcome to the
Yes.
world's first half marathon held for humanoid robots in Beijing.
So this
Okay.
was the play that again.
Oh.
Actually,
So you remember when this whole thing was going on about Chinese? The Chinese are so far ahead of Americans with their robots.
because this was the marathon that China was
No, they
pushing
ain't.
on all outlets. This was on every news source.
yes.
China
We have robots that will clean our floors that are better than these.
holds the first, and they bigged this up. The first half, they
Really see.
this,
No.
and they're not happy this footage got out.
No.
This is the marathon. This is such an analogy for modern China under the
Yeah.
CCP.
That doesn't count.
Come on.
Yeah. What is this thing? Wow.
Just fell apart. They got run over.
Yeah.
What even is that?
I don't know. It didn't work though.
That's
creepy.
a person.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was a
again,
person in there.
Yep.
This is a great marathon.
Yep.
He's yawning.
Yeah, so okay, the thing is, I believe it was 21 humanoid robot not using its embodied brain. It doesn't
It's not some funded CCP funded companies.
not use. Yeah, anyway, that's how that robot marathon went.
Yes.
So when you see the switch,
Yeah, they're
like,
using
stuff-
fancy language trying to say that their robots are amazing and do amazing things, and
Shaking
clearly they don't.
Kong.
fell from a high altitude and died, ruling out a criminal case, right? 3 a.m. on January 2nd, the school teacher called the family of the deceased and asked them to go to the school immediately. After arriving at the school, the family was prevented from seeing the body and was not told what happened. All they did, that they didn't even tell her, right? She finds out that a 17-year-old senior high school student died at the vocational education center in this county. The official report stated that the student fell from a high altitude and died, ruling out a criminal case. Right. So then they prevent her, right? At 7 a.m. on January 2nd, the school informed the family that the student had died. The family asked to view the surveillance video, but was told that the surveillance was broken. The family was not allowed to take photos. On January 2nd, family members and some insiders revealed that the deceased had bruises on his neck, but no signs of injury on his head, and suspected that the cause of death was related to bullying. Some students reported that the dormitory had a power outage and their mobile phones were confiscated on the night of the incident, and the school subsequently asked students to delete related videos and chat records. January 4th, the families of the deceased and the public started to gather at the school gate to protest, demanding a reasonable explanation from the school and the government. The number of protesters has gradually increased. Late in the evening of January 5th, the authorities released a joint investigation team report stating that the deceased died from falling from a high altitude and no criminal case was involved. The report did not mention key issues raised by the family, such as the damaged surveillance, the student's injuries, and the school's behavior. On the morning of January 6th, protests escalated with tens of thousands of people gathering to demand the truth, and the police cracked down. Video footage from the scene showed that some students and citizens were treated violently, with a female student being beaten to a bloody head and a male student's face covered in blood. Citizens accused the police of I don't know. I can't read that.
Or it means release the person.
Yeah.
Who obviously captured them. So just from one potential murder here, we have tens of thousands, up to 100,000 people.
Yeah. So now the next day, on January the 6th, you've got people gathering around, and they're demanding answers at this point.
Yeah.
They're not trying to do anything else. They just want an explanation.
And I do want to say this.
Yeah.
This is a symptom of the unrest and that's fomenting just beneath the surface. Like the people up on the roof.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All those people.
Massive.
Yeah. So I've got another thing that's going to pop up over here. So the core questions.
Why is the surveillance broken? Was the surveillance footage during the critical time period of the incident really damaged? Why is it not repaired or provided with relevant evidence? Let's see. The deceased injuries were consistent with the cause of death. The deceased had no head injuries, but bruises on his neck. Why was the report determining that he died from falling from high altitude? Why were the family members prevented from seeing the body and taking photos? What were the students required to delete the videos and chat records? Rumors online about the officials' background say that the cause of the students let's see, possibly interference investigation. I think what they think is a student that had a father high up, and that's why they were blocking everything.
Why was the surveillance system broken?
Really dive into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't know about that.
Actually, a CCP
member's
son.
Yeah, which happens.
It happens
ya.
all the time.
Yeah.
I literally had no idea. I was just taking a guess.
Okay, so now what's happening is, yeah, sorry.
A government
You can see
employee's
the amount of police cars,
son
buses,
or daughter,
vans turning
probably
up in
son.
the background.
Yeah.
Okay, because now the
Getting
gathering
away
gets
with
bigger
murder.
and bigger as people start
Happens all the
you know,
time.
talking about this. You see, they deployed hundreds of police officers, by the way.
Right.
And what they'll do too is they'll, if someone just touches them, then they fall to the ground, they flop, acting like they really got hurt, and they'll film that and make the protesters look violent.
What do they call them? Stability management
Kind of like,
personnel.
oh, funny
Yes.
the
Is
that
date,
the right
January
word?
6th.
Yep.
As you can see, they're all rolling in there. Well, you'll see in a minute.
Let me just say, people talk about police brutality in the U.S. You ain't got nothing on China. You ain't got nothing.
No, not at
Oh,
all.
Nobody talks
most
about
of us
that.
know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Before it all kicked off, after they broke into the gates, some of the students rushed into the school and
Yeah.
found the surveillance system.
Yes. Because they kept saying it was
Oh,
broken.
wow.
The
Dude,
student
what
says
are you
it's
doing?
broken, huh? It's broken, huh?
Because it works perfectly fine. So the
Student who rushed into the teaching building found the surveillance camera was not broken. The student had previously refused to provide the surveillance video of the incident on the grounds that the surveillance camera was broken.
students who rushed into the teaching building found that the surveillance camera was not broken.
As you can tell.
Yeah,
in
we
the
actually had to censor the footage. There's a lot of stuff we can't show because YouTube won't allow us to show, you know, the blood.
Yeah,
I
people
think
were
that's necessary
beating,
anyway.
No, we
beaten
don't.
to a bloody pulp.
That's why this is in black and white because you know obviously she's
She's
covered in
got
blood.
blood all
We
over her
can't
face.
show that
I've
on
seen the
YouTube,
video
so we're
before.
not going to. But you can get the idea of what's going on here because they were, you know, for instance, you can see the cops in the
They
background. have
beat them with
grabbed someone
batons.
and
And
they're doing a
It's like 12 on 1.
yeah.
It's like 20 on 1.
Yeah. Again,
See?
police brutality in China is hardly ever called out. People always go like,
I don't know if you
George
saw
Floyd
that,
or
but you
something.
could see
It's
someone
like,
getting
no, this is-
severely
but
This is
beaten.
China.
Yeah, this
has
is
nothing to
China.
do with that, and this happens
Yeah.
every day. in
Absolutely,
China.
absolutely. This is the guy who managed to escape. Well, actually,
Unfortunately, a lot of these guys will disappear.
he got rescued by the people because he was being beaten. He'd been handcuffed, and some of the other crowd pulled
They
him
got him
out.
back, yeah.
Yeah, so
But with
I
him.
like that he has "Be Yourself" written on the
It's
back.
kind of awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So look, there was a lot of this stuff going on. Okay, people being beaten up, and then the crowd kind of had enough, and they were like, "Okay, it's time for us to fight back."
We're going to rise up, yeah.
Yeah.
Chilai.
I was just gonna say, why don't you all just fight back? What are they gonna do? Arrest all of you? No. And also, the people that are getting arrested, why don't you just take them and run away with them? You know, help them out.
These are your average Chinese citizens.
Yeah, yeah.
One little thing can set this all off. That's how intense China is.
Yeah,
right
people are tired of it. They just need an excuse. Oh, they're running away.
No,
This is their
Good for them.
protest being like epic, happy, hardcore, like techno.
Dude, as much as students piss me off sometimes, you don't piss them off.
Rise up. To the sounds of the
kids.
DJ.
Remember when I was that young? I mean, I was looking for a reason to fucking do something like this. I didn't even care if it was right or
so I
wrong.
mean,
They overcame the police.
you can see they're pushing back. They were like, "That's enough." You know, they started smashing windows. They were using fire extinguishers to, I guess, attack the police. As you can see, hurling all sorts of projectiles at them.
Yeah.
It was, you know,
100,000 people strong, apparently.
and
There you go. Now stop. For the love of God, stop saying that America is a dictatorship. It's not. It's not. There is no communism here. I'm tired of hearing about it. And it's like, for the longest time, I'm like, I just need to show them a little bit of China and what it's like there. Like the videos that I've seen. And there you go. It is not like China. It is not a dictatorship here. My God, you guys are driving me insane with this. God, some Americans are just so spoiled. Oh my God, they have it so good here, and they try to act like they're fucking in China or something. It's just so pathetic. Ugh.